The journey to Aurora had been an odyssey measured not in days or months, but in silent, suspended years within the cold embrace of cryosleep. For those of us on the new dawn, humanity's most ambitious venture into the cosmos, each passing light year brought us closer to a promise, a second chance. Captain Eva Rostova, a woman forged from steel and starlight, her resolve as unyielding as the void we traversed, often spoke of this promise. A world untouched, teeming with nascent life, an emerald jewel in the celestial crown of a binary star system. As our deceleration phase began, the ship's massive viewports, once abstract canvases of distant nebulae, now filled with the increasingly detailed image of our destination, Aurora. It wasn't merely a dot of light anymore. It was a swirling sapphire ocean mirroring the distant glow of its twin suns, one a vibrant gold, the other a cool, pale blue. Continents unfolded beneath us, painted in unexpected hues. Deep emerald jungles giving way to crimson deserts, violet plains stretching to crystalline mountain ranges that shimmered with an inner light. Data streams pulsed across our bridge displays. Breathable atmosphere, viable gravity, abundant liquid water. The sheer improbability of finding such a world, a true Goldilocks planet, fueled an almost dizzying optimism amongst the crew. Dr. Liam O'Connell, our usually composed xenobiologist, his face pressed against the viewport, muttered about biological miracles as he pointed out colossal iridescent cloud formations that seemed to shift with a living rhythm. Engineer Marco Silva, usually buried in schematics, allowed himself a rare, soft whistle of awe. Sofia Akhmatova, ever the pragmatist, was already calculating mineral deposits, but even her rigorous focus couldn't dim the wonder in her eyes. We were ready to write humanity's next chapter, believing ourselves to be the chosen architects of a new Eden. The final descent trajectory locked. The ship hummed with anticipation, a metallic heartbeat thrumming against the vast, silent excitement of our own.
The descent of the Vanguard shuttle was a symphony of automated precision, its re-entry a fiery embrace with Aurora's atmosphere, followed by a graceful, silent glide. We landed softly on a vast, flat plain, a chosen site for the New Dawn colony, scouted months prior for its stability and proximity to water sources. The ramp deployed with a hydraulic hiss, a sound that seemed deafening in the alien quiet. Stepping out onto Aurora's surface for the very first time felt less like an exploration and more like a profound awakening. The air, thin but surprisingly breathable, carried a faint, sweet scent, alien yet strangely inviting, like ozone mixed with something herbaceous and metallic. The ground beneath our heavy boots was a soft, yielding violet, almost like fine sand, giving way to strange, segmented flora that pulsed with a gentle internal bioluminescence, casting soft, shifting shadows. Gravity felt eerily familiar, a comforting anchor in this otherworldly realm. Dr. Liam O'Connell, our xenobiologist, was practically vibrating with barely contained excitement, his voice a rapid-fire commentary as he pointed out colossal spire-like plant formations that seemed to hum with faint energy, and delicate iridescent creatures that flitted through the air with unnatural speed. We began the laborious, almost ritualistic process of deploying the initial colony modules, each clang of metal and whir of machinery a defiance against the planet's primordial silence. As we secured the first atmospheric processors, a strange, low-frequency hum resonated from deep within the ground, a sound that seemed to pass through bone rather than ear. Sofia Akhmatova's instruments registered minor seismic activity, dismissed as a new world settling, but it was a persistent, almost rhythmic pulse. our optimism remained stubbornly unchecked, fueled by the sheer wonder of discovery, the tangible reality of our new home. But even then, a tiny, almost imperceptible tremor of disquiet began to resonate beneath the awe.
Our initial weeks unfolded in a whirlwind of frenetic activity and breathtaking scientific firsts. Dr. Liam O'Connell was a man possessed, his every waking moment dedicated to documenting the incredible biodiversity of Aurora. He discovered towering, crystalline flora that hummed with a faint, almost melodic energy, their massive root systems tunneling deep into the violet soil. He cataloged small iridescent fauna that moved with unnatural speed and grace, their bioluminescent patterns shifting like living light shows. Yet, amidst this scientific paradise, subtle anomalies began to surface, like discordant notes in an otherwise harmonious symphony. Some of the flora, particularly the sprawling vine-like species, exhibited alarmingly rapid and almost intelligent growth patterns, pushing into our cleared zones with an aggressive territorial speed that defied known botanical growth rates. Our acoustic sensors began picking up strange, almost musical chimes on the wind, sounds that didn't originate from any natural meteorological or geological source. These were often accompanied by faint, unidentifiable tremors beneath the violet soil, too subtle for Sophia's major seismic instruments to register as significant, yet distinctly felt by those on the ground. Liam noted peculiar, almost symbiotic relationships between species that defied known ecological models. Plants that seemed to communicate with tiny insect-like creatures, influencing their behavior in ways that seemed coordinated. The initial awe slowly gave way to a creeping sense of unease. This world was alive, yes, but in a way we hadn't anticipated. It felt less like a pristine ecosystem, and more like a vast, interconnected, almost aware entity, subtly reacting to our presence. The whispers in the wind were growing louder, carrying a message we hadn't yet learned to translate. While Liam delved deeper into Aurora's unsettling biology, Sofia Akhmatova, our pragmatist and lead geologist, began to uncover even more immediate, unsettling truths about the planet's very foundations. Her array of sophisticated instruments designed to map the subsurface registered highly unusual subterranean energy fluctuations, massive rhythmic pulses of energy far beyond what typical plate tectonics could explain. The very bedrock, she discovered, was permeated by complex, highly organized mineral veins that didn't just conduct energy, they seemed to resonate with a faint, rhythmic hum, mirroring the sounds Liam heard. Small, localized quakes, initially dismissed as the natural settling of a geologically active planet, became alarmingly more frequent and patterned. They weren't violent, but enough to rattle our equipment, shift unpacked supplies, and fray nerves already strained by isolation. Sometimes the very ground beneath us seemed to shift imperceptibly, altering the landscape around our nascent colony, creating new fissures or expanding existing ones overnight. Sophia, a woman of unyielding logic, found herself staring at data models that made no sense. The patterns in the quakes, the resonance of the minerals, it was almost as if the planet itself was breathing, or perhaps reacting. She ran simulations, cross-referenced data, checked and rechecked her instruments, but the anomalous conclusions remained stubbornly the same. Aurora was far more dynamic and unstable than our initial orbital scans had indicated, and in ways that suggested something profoundly more complex than mere geological processes.
It was as if the planet's very crust was a living, responding skin, and our presence was causing it to react.
The first whispers of malfunction had started subtly. A momentary flicker in the habitat lights, a brief static burst on a comms channel. But these were no longer isolated incidents. They escalated into a persistent, frustrating, and ultimately terrifying chorus that permeated every facet of our lives. Power conduits experienced inexplicable surges, frying non-critical components. Our long-range communications arrays, vital links to Earth, developed intermittent, then constant static, often punctuated by strange low-frequency hums that overrode our signals. Life support systems, designed with redundant fail-safes, began requiring constant, unscheduled recalibrations. Oxygen scrubbers struggling, water recycling units sputtering. Engineer Marco Silva, a man whose pride was built on the unshakable reliability of his systems, was pushed to his breaking point.
Dr. Liam O'Connell's xenobiological research, once a source of boundless wonder and academic exhilaration, had slowly, chillingly morphed into a true nightmare. While meticulously studying a newly discovered cluster of the planet's ubiquitous bioluminescent flora, a species that resembled immense, delicate fungi, he found minute, impossibly intricate crystalline structures embedded within their vascular tissues. These structures, upon further analysis, were not mere mineral deposits. They were complex, semi-organic constructs capable of rapid replication and, horrifyingly, mimicry of organic forms at a cellular level. Shortly after this discovery, the first crew member fell ill. It wasn't a conventional virus or bacterial infection. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Chen Wei, despite her extensive training, was baffled. The infected colonist began exhibiting unsettling behavioral changes, increased aggression, strange, non-human vocalizations, and an unnerving, almost obsessive fascination with the alien flora. Liam's research, combined with Chen's medical observations, led to a terrifying hypothesis. These crystalline structures were somehow interfacing with the human nervous system, subtly altering perception, emotional response, and ultimately conscious behavior. It was a form of integration, a silent biological takeover. The planet's life wasn't just diverse, it was active, insidious, and seemingly designed to integrate or neutralize us, absorbing us into its vast, interconnected network. Aurora was consuming us from the inside out.
The technical issues, once sporadic headaches, had now escalated into a full-blown systemic collapse, a relentless assault on our very survival. Communication with Earth became utterly impossible. Not just static, but a complete, impenetrable silence that pressed down on us like a physical weight. Our long-range comms array, despite engineer Marco Silva's frantic, exhaustive efforts, was dead, its complex circuits mysteriously inert. Then, critical life support systems, engineered with multiple redundant fail-safes, began failing in cascading, unpredictable sequences. Atmospheric scrubbers sputtered, oxygen levels dipped precariously, water recycling units died, and nutrient processors ceased production, demanding constant, near impossible repairs that drained our dwindling resources and manpower. Marco, typically unflappable, was a shadow of his former self, sleep-deprived and on the verge of breakdown.
He pored over schematics, his eyes bloodshot, but found no conventional faults, no loose wires, no burnt-out circuits, no software bugs. It was as if an unseen force was systematically, intelligently dismantling our very ability to survive. He began to whisper theories of electromagnetic interference on an impossible scale, or perhaps something far more insidious, a deliberate, intelligent sabotage originating from within the planet itself, using the very resonant mineral veins Sophia had discovered as conduits. The low-frequency hum, once a subtle background noise, was no longer just a sound. It was a constant, low thrum that vibrated through the very structure of the base, a resonant pulse that felt like a hostile heartbeat. Our isolated outpost, our sanctuary, was becoming an inescapable trap, meticulously designed by an architect we couldn't even comprehend. Every failing system was a nail in our coffin, hammering home the terrifying truth: we were losing.
The terrible truth, when it finally dawned on Captain Rostova, was far more chilling than any alien invasion scenario we had ever trained for. Aurora was not just a planet with unique life and geology. It was a single, vast, living, sentient entity. The subtle humming Liam heard, the shifting sands Sophia tracked, the glitches Marco fought, the lights Eva witnessed, they were not coincidences. They were all manifestations of Aurora's conscious response to our presence. It wasn't hostile in a conventional, aggressive sense, like an invading army. It was reacting, protecting itself. Our scientific probes, our mining, our very breath, our presence was causing it immense pain, disrupting its delicate, millennia-old balance. Suddenly, the planet retaliated, not with weapons, but with its very essence. Massive, impossible crystalline structures, glowing with an internal angry light, erupted violently from the ground around the colony, piercing through habitat modules, tearing through external conduits. The bioluminescent flora we had admired now pulsed with aggressive, blinding light, their vine-like tendrils coiling and expanding, forming impenetrable thorny barriers, blocking our escape routes. The very atmosphere seemed to thicken, filled with shimmering heat haze, dense fog, and resonant frequencies that disoriented us, inducing strange, terrifying visions and a growing collective madness among the beleaguered crew. Lights flickered, communications crackled with alien sounds, and the ground pulsed beneath our feet with the planet's wrath. This wasn't a natural disaster. It was Aurora's immune response, a slow, deliberate, and terrifying defense mechanism against an invading species it perceived as a threat. We were trespassers, and the planet was waking up, not to destroy, but to reclaim its sanctity, to purge the foreign body that was us. The beauty had become a cage, and the life had become our executioner. Driven by desperation, and perhaps a faint, lingering echo of the shared knowledge from the initial telepathic connection, a detail Emily held on to, unspoken, the remaining team made a final, desperate push. Sophia,
her face gaunt but eyes burning with a new, terrifying certainty, used her geological data to pinpoint a central nexus, a massive, subterranean crystalline heart that pulsed with all the energy signatures they had detected. This wasn't just a geological formation. It was the planet's consciousness, its central nervous system, its very soul. Accessing it meant understanding the planet's fury, but also risking full-scale, immediate retaliation. In a desperate, perilous descent into a newly formed, violently active chasm, Captain Rostova, Engineer Marco, and Dr. Liam braved the escalating ecological and energetic reactions of Aurora. The air was thick with shimmering heat, the ground vibrated violently, and aggressive bioluminescent flora formed moving sentient barriers, attempting to trap them. Strange crystalline formations pulsed with violent disorienting energy, and the very air hummed with a resonant frequency that threatened to shatter their sanity and their suits. Deep within the chasm's heart, they discovered not just the giant crystal, but intricate, ancient, glowing patterns of light and pure energy flowing through its colossal facets. A complex, vibrant, visual language, a repository of unimaginable cosmic history and planetary consciousness. It became terrifyingly clear. Aurora wasn't just defending itself. It was communicating its existence, its history, its pain, its vast ancient wisdom in a language we were only just beginning to decipher. This was its brain, its soul, its silent, suffering voice. The knowledge, once an intellectual curiosity, now became a burden.
With the horrifying truth of Aurora's sentient, suffering nature laid bare, the shattered remnants of the colony faced an impossible, soul-crushing choice. The planet was no longer reacting. It was actively, furiously rejecting them. Staying meant certain, agonizing annihilation, as the planetary defenses escalated with every passing moment. Leaving meant abandoning the mission, admitting utter, catastrophic failure, and losing the opportunity to truly understand this living, wounded world. Panic and despair, raw and visceral, erupted among the remaining crew members, their voices hoarse with fear and frustration. Dr. Chen Wei, her medical skills stretched beyond breaking point, reported rapidly deteriorating health conditions due to the planet's subtle, pervasive influence on their biology, the crystalline infestation becoming more aggressive. Arguments raged in the flickering, damaged command center. Some desperate few wanted to fight, to activate last resort weapons. Others, broken, just wanted to flee, to escape the nightmare. Still others, like Liam, advocated for a desperate, final attempt at negotiation or understanding, even as the walls around them groaned under planetary assault. Captain Rostova, her face a mask of grim determination, was burdened by the impossible weight of her crew's lives and the crushing failure of their scientific ambition. She had to make the ultimate decision. The New Dawn shuttle, battered and limping, was damaged, but perhaps still capable of an emergency ascent. Could they escape Aurora's furious grasp? Was this a retreat or a desperate act of preservation, a chance to carry the truth home? The clock was ticking, not just on their dwindling oxygen and power, but on the future of humanity's expansion into the cosmos. Every second was a battle against the planet and against their own fracturing sanity. The decision was made: retreat. The evacuation was not orderly. It was a desperate, chaotic scramble.
a race against a living planet that sought to reclaim its peace. The New Dawn shuttle, battered and limping, its hull groaning under the strain, managed to break free from Aurora's furious grasp. The planet's furious energy currents lashed at its hull, brilliant, chaotic discharges mirroring its rage. From the shuttle's scarred viewport, the remaining crew watched as Aurora, once their hopeful new home, now raged below them. A beautiful, terrifying, sentient being, swirling with angry bioluminescence and violent energy. They had not colonized, they had invaded. They were not pioneers, they were refugees, fleeing a cosmic entity they barely understood. As the shuttle broke through the upper atmosphere and made the desperate jump back into faster-than-light travel, leaving the living planet behind, the vastness of space no longer felt cold and empty. Instead, it was filled with the humbling, terrifying knowledge of what truly lies beyond human comprehension. They carried not just the physical scars of their mission, but an invaluable, soul-altering truth. The universe wasn't merely a sterile expanse waiting to be conquered or settled. It was alive, aware, and fiercely capable of defending itself. Their future, and humanity's, now hinged on how they would share this ultimate revelation. A story of hubris, discovery, and a cosmic lesson learned the hardest way possible. Aurora remained, a living secret, a guardian of the stars, its vibrant beauty now forever tinged with the memory of its righteous fury.